Story 1. Aida for being ungrateful about my birthday present? Okay, so it's my 20th day next week, and where I live turning 21 is a big deal, so my parents are spending a little more on presents this year. I was very excited about this and began to think of stuff that I may like within the same budget they gave my brother. This is when my parents told me there was no need to come up with anything as they and everyone else would be getting me jewelry. I'm not a jewelry girl at all. I never wear it. I think it looks very pretty, but I can't just never be bothered and know it would go to waste on me. I told my parents, while very generous, would it be possible for a different present, something I would have used more, as they allowed both my brothers to pick what they wanted. They immediately said no and called me very ungrateful. I see where they're coming from, and I know this is such a stupid and ridiculous problem to have. But I still think it's a little unfair. Edit. A lot of people have been asking about whether it's a big part of my culture to receive jewelry for various reasons. It's not, however. My family are very traditional, and every woman has always received jewelry on her birthday, whether she wants to or not. I suppose the idea is to hand it down to my children someday. People have also been asking about what my brothers spent theirs on. One bought skis and skiing equipment, and the other one bought a kilt, which is traditional dress where I grew up.
In my opinion, she is not an asshole. What do you think? Comment below. Story 2. How can I, 35M, forgive her, 50F, for what she did 15 years ago? Hi everyone, I am a 35M and married to a 50F. We have one wonderful child, a 14-year-old daughter, who was conceived very early on in our relationship. And by that, I mean on the first night. The background is that I was 20 and she was 35, and we both worked at a retail store at the time, one of the big box ones. My coworkers joked that she liked me, but I thought she was a little old, but still pretty though. Anyway, she asked me out on a date, and I said yes. That's all I remember because I got blackout drunk on that date despite only having 2 drinks. And it's because she put some of her prescription Xanax in my drink when we returned back to her house, and we ended up having sex, except I don't remember. Long story short, she got pregnant, told me it was mine, and then admitted to drugging me. At first, it was an extremely hard situation to be in, and my family and friends basically abandoned me for what they considered a massive mistake on my part. I didn't even think the kid was mine, but we did a paternity test shortly after birth, and sure enough, the child was mine. We ended up co-parenting reluctantly, and she was dating some crazy biker dude who threatened to kick my ass and whatever. But I convinced her to break up with him for the sake of our young daughter, and she did. We ended up dating for a few years and ultimately got married. It's been 8 years since we were married. We did actually fall in love, and I ended up going to college and have a decent job in IT while she is a stay-at-home mom. Except I never forgave how she drugged me and then laughed about it and then changed my entire life forever. I cannot say I'm totally dissatisfied with life, but I often wonder how things would have been if I did not have to step up and be the man of the house to support a child as well as the woman who I got pregnant without a choice in the matter. What is the best way to get over this? I don't wish to divorce or leave her, but I do want us to maybe get some counseling. I have never brought up the situation of getting drugged since we last discussed it shortly after becoming a relationship 10 years ago. I'm looking for some advice and I guess some reassurance that I did the right thing and that I'm not a shit person for having these feelings and emotions.
Story 3. Aida for not letting my son's boyfriend come on vacation with us unless he pays his own way, even though I'm paying for everyone else. For a summer vacation this year, I went all out. I rented a houseboat for 5 days. It cost about $22,000. We are celebrating my wife's 50th birthday and our 30th anniversary. It is a huge houseboat, and we have been planning this for a while. All the kids are coming and bringing their significant others and family. I am flying my son and his wife over from the Philippines for this. My youngest son attends university on the East Coast, and he has a new person in his life every few weeks. He is staying out there for the summer, but I'm also flying him in for the party. He wants me to pay for his new boyfriend to come. This is news to me because when he spoke to me in July, he had a girlfriend. He changes partners more often than he does laundry. I said his boyfriend was more than welcome to join us, but that he would have to pay for his own flight. The girl he was dating wasn't going to come because she felt awkward being at a family party after only dating for a month, so I wasn't going to buy her a ticket. My son says that I'm being homophobic and an asshole for not bringing his boyfriend out. I pointed out that his sister and her wife of 2 years would be there. He hung up and called his mom. She thinks I should just pay. I probably will to keep the peace, but I think I stupid to pay for a vacation for a kid I will never see again. And he is going to be in family pictures forever.
In my opinion, he is not an asshole. What do you think? Comment below.
Story 4. Ayada for not sharing my recipe with my nephew's other aunt. My 24F sister is married to brother-in-law, and they have my nephew Sam, 7. Brother-in-law has a sister Eve, 25F. We all live in the same city. Eve and I used to each babysit Sam roughly once a month. My sister and brother-in-law were in a car accident a month ago and are recovering. The family step in to help with what we can, and Eve and I offer to look after Sam an alternative week. It's been a little over 3 weeks now, with Sam currently staying with Eve. I live with my boyfriend Paul, who's a good cook. He doesn't work in the food industry, but he likes tinkering around the kitchen. I myself am an okay cook, and sometimes Paul and I work on new recipes or perfecting older ones together. We talked about putting together a cookbook or maybe start a cooking channel on social media, but we're both too busy at the moment. Sam is a big fan of our kid-friendly dishes. He and Paul get along great, and they are both sad Paul is in another country for work, while Sam is under my care. I made sure to make him all his favorites while he was with me. A few hours ago, Eve called me saying Sam refused to eat the vegetables she made. When she told him he had to eat his greens, Sam said he wanted my spinach bacon soup or no veggies. Eve then called to ask me for my recipe. That soup, however, was one I created the recipe with Paul, and I don't want to share. I told Eve I would make the soup and drop them at her place the day after tomorrow. I told her Sam is good with fruit, so if he doesn't eat the vegetables, he can have extra servings of fruit in the meantime. Eve said I was being ridiculous and selfish. And dropping the soup 2 days later means Sam won't get to eat vegetables till then. I just don't want to share our recipe, which may be used commercially later. Ayida?
In my opinion, she is an asshole. What do you think? Comment below.
Story 5. AITA for stopping my parents from paying for my sister's IVF and telling her she can't afford to have a kid. I am M23. My sister is F28, married to M30 for 6 years. My sister has been trying for a baby for about 3 years now without success. 18 months ago, she and her husband came to my parents and asked if we'd finance an IVF treatment. My parents have some savings separate from retirement and agreed to pay for it, and I even pitched in a few $100s to show my support, even though I didn't have a lot of savings, having just started work after graduation. Unfortunately, the IVF failed. Yesterday, my sister and BIL came over again for dinner. Afterwards, my sister said she wanted to try another round of IVF and asked my parents if they would pay for it again. I could tell my parents looked hesitant, but they agreed because my sister was crying. At this point, I stood up and said it's not right for her to ask again for our parents' money for something that didn't work before and may not work again. We argued a bit, and I admit that things got heated and we had a big fight. She yelled at me that it was none of my business. I told her if she can't pay for the IVF, then she needs to accept that she can't afford a kid. She told me to get out, but I refused. My parents were trying to calm us down. My mom started telling me that it's not my money, to which I replied that it's basically a gift to one child and not the other, and that it was only fair that I be given a similar amount of money as what they would spend on my sister. My sister started complaining that it's not a gift, it's a treatment for a medical condition, and if I'd expect payment if she had cancer, and my parents paid for chemo. I told her not being able to have a kid poses no threat to her life the way cancer does, and it's a completely disingenuous comparison. My dad finally stood up and yelled at us both to shut up and sit down. Then he told my sister that they already paid for one, and I had a point that continuing to pay for it would be unfair. He said he's very sorry for what she's going through, but they need to accept things how they are. My sister started crying again, and her husband, who had been quiet and looking uncomfortable the whole time, took her and left. Today my sister sent me some texts calling me an asshole for sticking my nose in her business and keeping her from having a baby. Aida?
In my opinion, he is not an asshole. What do you think? Comment below. Story 5. Ata for laughing at my father-in-law when he hurt his butt after he didn't listen to me. Just bought a new propane grill. My wife told her dad and he came over to supervise because obviously I could not possibly do it by myself. I actually could have used his help a couple of times lifting the heavier parts or moving them around, but he decided that he was just there to criticize. He chose to do so by sitting on one of our plastic patio tables and continuously tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'm used to it, so I mostly ignore him except to tell him to grab one of the chairs instead of sitting on a table not meant for that. He proceeded to tell me that he wasn't fat and that he wasn't going to damage it. Whatever it is, a plastic table I've had forever, so I don't really care. I was almost done the grill when I heard something awesome. My wife was bringing us out some beer and he leaned back and put all his weight on the table, which had promptly snapped. A fluke made a shard of it cut through his jeans like butter and gashed his right ass cheek, badly, like I had to do first aid and call an ambulance. I laughed a little, mostly out of nervousness, but also because it was funny as fuck. Him and my wife both got mad at me for laughing at his injury. I said he was an adult who made a stupid decision then doubled down after being corrected. And that butt injuries were inherently funny, even bad ones. He had to get stitches on his ass and is sitting rather tenderly, but they are still upset at me. I honestly was just nervous and that's why I laughed. So, Ada? In my opinion, he is not an asshole. What do you think? Comment below. Subscribe for more interesting stories.